All right, today's guest built a kingdom of homes and then turned his eyes to a kingdom without walls. On this episode of Servant Leaders Library, we're thrilled to welcome a man who knows a thing or two about building, not just foundations of concrete, but foundations of hope. He's the founder and president and CEO of Keystone Custom Homes and a three-time winner of America's Best Builder Award. That's over 9,000 homes built across Pennsylvania, Maryland, and North Carolina, which is more doors than your average Monopoly board. But Jeff Rutt wasn't content with just helping people find the American dream. He wanted to help people around the world dream, period. As the founder and chairman of Hope International, Jeff leads a nonprofit that serves in 24 countries, breaking the cycle of poverty through small loans, saving programs, and biblically based business training. Basically, he's helping people go from I have a dream to I have a business plan. Jeff Rutt provides that you can wear a hard hat and a servant's heart as well. And today he's joining me, Nicholas Paluco, CEO of One to One, to talk servant leadership, faith in action, and why true impact often starts with simply showing up. So grab your coffee or your blueprint and settle in. This one's going to, build you up. So welcome, Jeff. We appreciate you coming today and excited to have you here. And
Thank you,
would
Nick.
love to learn more about yourself and kind of your journey, how you got started.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nick. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Where would you like me to begin?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of what got you into, the journey that you're in, like building homes and
Oh,
and
yeah.
and kind of also then kind of building, people's ability to have a home, right? I mean,
Yes.
what
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
dream that
Exactly.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it started much earlier. So I grew up on a dairy farm here in southern Lancaster County.
Okay.
My dad taught me the value of hard work and discipline
Mm.
and getting up at 4 a.m. to milk the cows when I was 10,
Wow.
which I appreciated years later. I didn't really appreciate it that much then. But when I was 20, I literally bought the farm, uh,
Wow.
paid $550,000 for 200 acres, and my wife and I milked 150 cows with about 150 young stock over 10
Wow.
years. And it turns out 300 bovines are very needy. So we were looking for something with less hours and lower risks. So we thought maybe
Mm.
home building and real estate would be a good
Okay.
choice. So,
Okay. That doesn't have its
so
ups or downs at all.
yeah, so sold real estate for a few years through general brokerage and got very interested in home building, worked with a couple of small home builders, eventually realized I was doing all the marketing, the purchasing the land, doing all the selections, the customer service, and everything except the actual physical building. So ended up
Mm.
hiring a really good construction manager and started small. We had basically no cash. I got the ability to get a loan myself at one of the banks that we talked to, gave us a break and just started really small. We built 12 homes our first year. I think our average sale price was about 69.9, which included the
Wow.
building lot and all the options and premiums and everything. But yeah, God bless that. We worked really hard and went through a lot of ups and downs through the years, especially the Great Recession. 2007 through about 2012 were some testing years. But as you mentioned, we were blessed with winning the America's Best Builder Award 3 times
Wow.
during that time.
That's unbelievable. That is the job that you had before and how you grew up is not a easy way to make a living.
Yeah,
Milking cows, that's a 24/7, 7 days a week. You probably didn't have many vacation days, I would assume.
yeah, no vacations, but we learned a lot. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but probably wouldn't go back for anything. We learned a lot of lessons about business, about things you can control and things you can't control, and have
Right.
the wisdom and the patience and the humility to know the difference, and then to be able to work as hard as you can to change the things that you can, and then just be understanding and having the temperament to accept the things that you can't change,
Right.
and just figure out ways to faithfully take, steps, continue to take steps in the right direction. Yeah, I
Got it.
literally feel like I've been on vacation every day since I got off the dairy farm.
Really? Oh, that that's a heck of a vacation, I'll tell you. I think it's a
Yeah,
testament to hard work, right? I think one thing that you said that resonated to me a minute ago is the venture did not come with having this money just to do this idea, right? Like you
right.
had a vision and you had to sacrifice a lot to get to where you're at. And I think many people see success at the top of the iceberg, but don't see all of the things below it. And I think that's a testament to trust in yourself and your wife, right? She must be an absolutely wonderful partner to go through
Yeah,
that journey.
yeah, she
Yeah.
is. Yeah, we're getting ready to celebrate our 45th wedding anniversary,
Wow.
and yeah, she's been amazing. She's actually a two-time cancer survivor. In
Wow.
2016, she was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer, given a 4% chance of surviving 2 years.
Wow.
And praise God, she's cancer-free and a walking miracle today, 9 years
Wow.
later. So we're feeling very blessed. But yeah, both of us grew up in dairy farms here in Lancaster County.
Okay.
We're thought we'd always be dairy farmers, but it's been a journey. So I mean, the other part of our journey, which you alluded to, is in '97. So about 5 years after starting Keystone Custom Homes, I was asked to lead a trip to Ukraine through our church.
Okay. Okay.
And we had inadvertently uh, started to create this cycle of dependency by sending containers of food and medical supplies to a
Wow.
sister church in Ukraine. It was in Zaporozhye, Ukraine, right on the front line of the battle right now between Ukraine and
Wow.
Russia. They're right in the middle of it. Zaporozhye is right where that huge nuclear plant is. But during that time period, we had been doing everything we could to help. We wanted to help, but we
Right.
were inadvertently creating what Robert Lupton talks in his book Toxic Charity, the downward spiral of toxic charity. So we in the West think that we can solve everything in the world by just giving people more stuff, right?
Yeah,
Just give them
right.
just give them
More stuff and
stuff.
money. Yeah.
Money and stuff. That's all they need. And what we, he talks about that first gift of whatever it is, stuff or money, there's appreciation. And then
Mm,
the second gift, there's anticipation. Then
mm,
there's expectation. Then there's
mm,
entitlement. And then there's
mm.
dependency. And we sat down at the dinner table one night in Zaporozhye, Ukraine, with Pastor Petrenko from the church we were assisting. And he said to me, "Your helping is hurting." And that
Mm.
one comment just completely shifted our whole approach. And we started looking for ways to come alongside the families we were serving and allow them to use their gifts and their talents and their abilities to become pillars in their own communities by using their talents and skills and abilities that they had
Mm.
and have true dignity restored in their life. And fortunately, we were able to do it in a way that was a platform that could also be used to proclaim the gospel and to disciple families as they were growing holistically, spiritually, financially, personally, and socially. But we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't even know how to spell microfinance, and we were like completely the guy that I somehow convinced to be a part of it in the very beginning was a former chiropractor. He had
Okay.
several chiropractor offices, and him and his wife wanted to do some kind of missions, and he loved this idea of combining faith and finance.
Hmm.
So so what we tell people is, if you're going to start a Christ Center microfinance program, what you don't do is combine a chiropractor, a dairy farmer turned builder to start it. Like that's not the recipe. But somehow God blessed it. We learned a lot through failure and just putting one step in front of the other. We were encouraged early on with some of the clients that we had a chance to connect with. We had a lady, Natasha in Ukraine, Zaporozhye, Ukraine, who got a
Okay.
small loan to start a business selling clothing in what we would consider like a farmer's market, just like
Okay.
Central Market here in
Yeah.
Lancaster. And she did really well, and she was very entrepreneurial. She saw another need right in that farmer's market. She saw that the guy that was selling the Portland cement was doing
Mm.
it in the center of the market, and these guys would have to like throw these bags of Portland cement on their shoulder and carry them all the way out through the market to their pickup truck. So what she did, she said, I can lease a little kiosk right on the curbside at the edge of the market.
Ah.
So she did, and she started selling Portland cement out there. So she had a clothing business and a cement business, which you can't make this stuff up. But Natasha, about 18 months later, from the date she got her first loan through, building the second business, came in and to make her last payment to her loan officer there. And she said,
Wow.
I won't be needing any more loans because I'm not poor anymore. And it was
Wow.
just really powerful. Another thing we were encouraged by, there were two Muslim women in Kigali, Rwanda, and we open our Hope International gives loans to everyone. We don't
Okay.
discriminate on
Okay.
race, religion. If you qualify for the loan, you're welcomed in. And
Wow.
these women got two separately got loans for their sneaker businesses. They both had little sneaker
Ah.
businesses. They were selling sneakers in their little shops, and they were doing really well. They were thriving, and they were so excited about it. But we have what you call the five W's in each one of our loan meetings at Hope International.
Okay.
We have the welcome, worship, word, work,
Mm.
and wrap up. So they would sit outside on the porch when we were doing the word and the worship portion.
Okay.
But eventually, during that time period, during that 9-month loan cycle, those two women got loved in both by the loan officer and the other believers in the group. And by the end of that loan cycle, both of those women came to Christ through that connection
Wow.
and through just the relationship that they had.
Yep.
So that was super encouraging. And then one of my favorites of the 3.3 million families now that we've been able to serve is a gal by the name of Anastasia in Burundi, third poorest country in the world. At the time, was not able to send her two little girls to school because of the payment she was going to need to make. Her and her husband's meager income was not going to meet those needs. But she told her loan officer, and all of our loan officers have what we say, they're indigenous to the regions of the world they
Mm.
work in, and they have the head of a banker, heart of the pastor, and soul of a
Mm.
missionary.
Mm.
And she said, I had this idea that I would like to start a small business leasing out fiberglass, like those lawn chairs, those plastic
Oh yeah. Yeah.
fiberglass
Yeah.
lawn chairs. And they're $1 a piece, and I need 20 of them. So it's like $20. So and Nick, how many cups of Starbucks could
Oh
you
my
afford with
Lord.
20 bucks?
Like, right? By the time you're
Like,
done 4 cups of coffee, you got 20
yeah,
bucks, right?
no, exactly. Yeah, you might not even get four. Yeah,
Wow.
so she got a. I didn't think that was that great of an idea. She wanted to buy these 20 chairs to lease out to couples getting married, so like a wedding venue
Oh yeah. Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
But fortunately for Anastasia, her loan officer, local, indigenous to her region, said, you know what? That's a great idea. That there's a
Really?
need for chairs for people that are getting married need to rent these chairs because some of these weddings are like 3 days long. People need to sit
Wow.
down. And so she got approved for a $20 loan, like not a gift, not a grant. Anastasia was not interested in toxic charity. So she needed a loan for $20. So fast forward to today, she has 200 chairs, 200 place
Wow.
settings, 200 baskets, and 3 wedding dresses, small,
Really?
medium, and large. And she is just thriving. So she's now her dream is that those two little girls will someday go to the university there in Bujumbura. But that's a little bit about
That's
how Hope got
unbelievable.
started. 2004, Peter Greer, our president and CEO, has been here 21 years now and has just been brilliantly leading the organization. Has written 21 books and
Wow.
including Mission Drift, Lead with Prayer, Rooting for Rivals. I could send you the link to all of his books, but
Oh, that would be
uh,
amazing.
yeah, in 2004, he was on his way from getting his graduate degree at Harvard to a job at the World Bank, and he stopped in Lancaster to visit a relative of his wife Laurel, and came to see us about this application we had in for a new leader, and somehow we convinced him that Lancaster, Pennsylvania was the place to be.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's been here ever since and just leading so well, and
That's
it's been a
amazing.
tremendous joy to work alongside of him.
That is unbelievable. That is an unbelievable story. There's a gentleman that I'm close with that has found that the same concept, right? And he's a local business owner, and he said, "Well, we need to kind of teach people how to fish, right? But
Yeah.
they're poor." And of course, he goes into areas that are highly micromanaged by inappropriate, strong, dictators almost, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And he had created wealth in that area by them making clothing.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the drug lords in that area said, no, we suppress these people on purpose so
Wow.
that they listen to what we say. And they burnt his entire factory down
Wow.
and they pushed
Wow.
him out. So he can't go back there. They have like a warrant for like to kill him because he
Whoa.
created goodness in that area.
What?
So
Wow.
he found through very faithful man, and he's like, listen, he didn't have kids, and he spent his time at church creating like programs like the Great Cookie Sale that's now like multi-states that like helps to feed the poor, but teaches um, students how that operates, like from a physical standpoint and how to make them and whatnot. And so he lost $2 million of his savings because
Whoa.
of this and said, I don't know how I can do this again. Like
Yeah.
I lost everything, they lost everything. And but he said, God willing, I'm gonna give every savings that I have to make this happen again. And
Wow.
he's trying to find funding now. So
Wow.
he's all over the place. But he won't give up. I mean, his other business runs and he goes, I gotta figure this out. And
Yeah.
and that's what you're doing. You're figuring it out and
Yeah.
creating people to help others, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like you're teaching them to teach other people, right? Which would be
Yes.
any great practice. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people know that, the saying, instead of giving someone a fish for a day, teach them how to fish for a lifetime. We give
Right.
them the loan for the fishing rod. So it allows them the tool, gives them the tools and also the training and the solidarity and the praying for each other and the learning together that they have in their regular groups. They know where to go to fish as well,
Wow.
and what to use for bait.
Wow.
And we're not, and it's very much locally based, indigenous to the areas that we work. So, if fast forward 27 years, 28 years from when we started. So today we partner with 16,000 churches through our
Wow.
savings groups in 30 countries. We've loaned out over $1.8 billion
Wow.
in tiny loans, starting as low as, like
Wow.
I said, $20. And we've been able to help over 3.3 million families. So we're
Wow.
excited about where God's taken it. And it's, again, we had no idea what we were doing when we started. We had no business. Actually, in a lot of ways, I still have no idea what we're doing, but
Wow.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
Holy Spirit's guiding that, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
That's just a testament to kind of taking your treasures and talents and applying that to what God really wants us to do. And every day, think about that, right? Like I wake up
Yeah.
and I say, am I doing what you granted me to be here for? And I got to tell you, that's a hard question, right?
Yeah.
Because like you're constantly trying to improve and be better, but am I really doing what you want me to do, or am I really distracted by these other means and ways? And
Yeah.
it's very inspirational to hear that you've built a way to do that.
Yeah.
And the passion that comes out for you talking about just gets me quite excited. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
the other thing
amazing.
it's really interesting because we have learned so much from the families that we've been serving and a part of their journey. And it's been a tremendous blessing for our kids who are now all in their 30s, and
Okay.
they have their own families. But to be able to go on the trips through the years, and just when they were teenagers, it completely took the wind out of their not fair speech. To But it's been a blessing just to see in some cases, the contentment level. If there was a contentment meter, it was higher in a lot of the areas of the families that we would spend time with than it was families that we were, connecting with, here in the West. And, I was talking to a guy recently. He said, we in the West spend so much time focused on comfort,
Mm.
which leads to complexity. We have all these things that we have to keep
Yep.
track of and just have just right, just so we're
Yep.
perfectly comfortable all the time, and which leads to complacency. So
Mhm.
comfort, complexity,
Distraction. Yeah.
complacency, and it's just like it becomes. And a lot of the folks that we spend time with. I was talking to Peter, who just came back. Peter Greer, our president of Hope, who just came back from Rwanda. He met a gal by the name of Marguerite. She's 93,
Wow.
and she always wanted to be able to give to other folks in her community, but she's already very, like, living a very modest lifestyle
Right.
herself. But she always wanted to be able to give, be a philanthropist, so to speak. And
Mm.
she recently got involved in one of our savings groups there, was able to save and then qualify for a loan from her group. And then she was able to get this loan for $40, and she bought a goat. The goat had twins.
Really?
So guess what? She was able to give away one of the twins. So she was able to
Wow.
give away one of the twin goats. And it was just produced just such joy and fulfillment for her. And it was just a beautiful thing to see someone of very little means be able to be generous and give to somebody else in
Wow.
her own community, out of, and talk about dignity, and,
Yeah.
that being able to. So yeah, it's been a fun journey, and yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Wow. You kind of talk about kind of how faith comes alive, right? I
Yeah,
mean, right, like the passage of the Pharisees giving their extra money to the plate,
yeah,
and
right.
an old woman comes and gives her last 5 cents, and God
Yes,
says, "You have given everything. You're
yes,
right, and the rest." And like you just explained that in a story that
yes,
happened, which is
yes,
and kind of us kind of in the West of like are we really giving to the point that it hurts, right? And I
exactly.
don't think everybody really realizes that
Yeah,
and how
exactly.
impactful that is. I say that sometimes, like when our kids, might complain, and I'm like, that's a first world problem. Like,
Yeah,
I'm sorry you have
exactly.
that. You know what I mean? But like, sorry about that. But you don't know. I mean, the ignorance becomes bliss, I guess, right?
Yes,
And
yeah,
and you see how happy people are. I mean, I'm the only family that's here in the United States. The rest of my family's in Poland. And the different culture of the European culture is very much centered around that faith and family. And
yeah,
so there's a different dynamic. There isn't things
yeah,
aren't as important as the unity of all of us, which I think sometimes we miss here. It's
yes,
sad to hear up and coming leaders and people and students speak with a lot of students at Christian areas, Lancaster Catholic, other areas, and it's sad to hear how like a broken family really can create such an angst or an understanding that carries generations.
yeah,
And it was sad to hear one day my children came home and we eat dinner together every night, right?
yeah,
And now they're older, so
yeah,
they're on their own, but when they're
yeah,
home, we eat together. And they said, "Well, this is weird. Like none of my friends do this." I'm
yeah.
like, "What?
Mm.
Eat?" And they're like, "No, together." Like they don't know each other. And I think like
Wow.
just your story, right? I mean,
Mm.
that woman gave something away that could have benefited her for the long term, and
Yeah,
you know, she has
yeah,
faith and belief that it'll be fine, I think
yeah, yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about having, I think, um, sometimes, like you said, first world problems. I think sometimes being just aware of how the rest of the world lives and like who's your comparison group? Who are
Right.
you? We all compare ourselves to someone. How about if we compare to like the other 90% of the world instead of the top
Yeah.
2%?
Right.
And I think that there's an organization called I Like Giving, and it focuses a lot on um, the the younger mentality of figuring out at a younger age what it looks like to be generous and what it looks like to be aware of what the rest of the world lives
Mhm.
like. And yeah, I think it's really important to. There's another book that I was thinking of called Raising Grateful Kids in an
Oh,
Entitled
that's a good
World.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kristen Welch, and she talks about just trying to figure out ways to, because it's hard when we live in affluence to create gratitude
Hmm.
and figure out ways to encourage gratitude, not only in our kids, but how about in ourselves? For me,
Right.
I'm talking to myself.
Right.
How do I make sure that I'm focused on gratitude? Because I have so many things and relationships and
Right.
just all the things that God's blessed us with to be grateful for
Hmm.
instead of entitled by.
That's well said. I went through a journey owning some businesses, right, and owning one now. And I went to my pastor and I said, "Listen, I have a really hard problem. Like, I'm creating wealth, I'm creating money, and it feels wrong, right?" And he said to me, he said, "Well, wait a minute." He said, "Let me put it in a different perspective. God has given you the talent to do this, but what are
Mhm.
you doing with it?" And
Yeah,
I said,
right.
"Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Are you holding it over someone's head? Are you
Mm,
acting greater than they are? Are you
mm,
creating?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Okay, well, it's okay to do that, to create it because others don't know how. But
mhm.
you need to be diligent on how you use it. What do you do?
Yeah.
And are you tied to it? Is this why
Mhm.
you do it? It's for money?" And I found that interesting because,
Mhm.
growing up in a faithful family, that was kind of wrong. It was like kind of wrong to have something. I guess I should say that
Mhm.
because we came from nothing, right? So
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
you had this theory of like just make sure you gave all the time. And so it
Yeah.
was interesting as you the journey changes, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. So back to Keystone. I know you were asking Nick a little bit about more about Keystone. So something interesting
yeah.
that we did like about 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, we've always felt like our company, like we were stewards of our company where we weren't really owners. Now the IRS kept sending us these tax bills like we were the owner. Uh,
How
and
dare them?
my daughter, my oldest daughter, actually sent me a video of a guy by the name of Alan Barnhart back in about 2016. And Alan actually, he ended up giving 100% of the stock in his company. It's a $250 million crane company in Memphis,
Wow.
Tennessee. Ended
Wow.
up giving 100% of it away to the National Christian Foundation Charitable Trust. He still runs the company, and they've been expanding. I think they've grown in the last 15 years, like an average of almost 10% a year. They keep buying other
Wow.
companies. So the
Wow.
business is continuing to grow. Long story short, we ended up connecting with him, being mentored by him in 2019. After a lot of prayer and discussion with their family, we transferred 89% of the stock in Keystone Custom
Wow.
Homes and all of its land affiliates to the National Christian Foundation Charitable Trust. So we still control it. It still feels like our company, but we don't own 90% of the stock. It's
Wow.
owned by NCF. We still control it, so we can use those dollars to continue to buy land or buy, the equipment that we need to run a building company that builds 600 homes a year. And it allows us to be stronger, and there's more purpose. We call it
Yeah.
profit for purpose as
Yeah.
we continue to grow. And that's been something that's been a really meaningful and powerful thing that we felt like was a great opportunity if in fact you were interested in providing profit for purpose. If you were looking
Yeah.
to just go buy an island somewhere or a ski lodge,
Right, right. It gives me a lot
and
of ideas because in our business plans, right, we talk about with this foundation of education. So, our organization, although we're in technology and security, the main purpose is to empower and educate those we serve. And
yeah,
serving is key to our core values. But how do you sustain that as we don't continue to potentially be the stewards of that in the long term? And so, this is even helpful on a personal level to understand how to continue to keep that alive. And
yeah,
and it's amazing to reach other people that are thinking about this. I mean, that's kind of letting go, right? Like, I mean, that's a
yeah,
lot of trust, right?
yeah.
You're letting go of that, and that's the purpose of what we're all that are, in the, if we're reading the book of the Bible, right?
Yeah, right.
What does it say? That all your stress, anxiety, and everything, there's one book you can read to solve your problems. And
Yeah,
and so I think many times we're so tied to these things,
yeah.
as you
hmm
mentioned, and that's an unbelievable gift. How did you turn from like in essence privately owned to this organization? How did that change the culture of your organization? How did it change the people that you had? Did you have to change any of the staff? Right? I mean, that's transformational. It sounds like you've always been a um a go-giver mentality, but
hmm
that's sometimes hard in a for-profit business.
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, we've always been very open about our faith. We, pray for at our company meetings, and we try to really minister to our team holistically. That doesn't mean we don't work hard. We work probably as hard or harder than anyone, and we're really passionate about what we do. And our profit for purpose makes it even more purposeful. And we're just we feel like the why is even bigger.
Mm,
But it really didn't change anything in the way we operated on a day-to-day basis.
okay.
Uh, Now, it was interesting because when I announced it to our leadership team, I remember about 3 months before we actually made the transfer, I was sat down to share with our leadership team, and one of our operations leaders said, "Oh, so you're going to be one of us now?" And it was just a really interesting.
Ah,
And I said, "Well, I've always felt like I've been one of you, but yeah." It's
yeah.
and it was like it was one of those moments where I hadn't thought of that, but it was really cool to feel like, yeah, I heard a story recently, and Nick, you'll appreciate this. So this owner of a business pulls up with his brand new Mercedes, and I nothing against Mercedes, okay? But
Yep.
he pulls up, latest model, pulls into the parking lot, and one of his other team members that worked for him happened to be there just walking into work, and he said, "Nice car, boss." And he said, he got out of his car and he stood there and kind of crossed his arms. He said, "I tell you what, you work hard over this next year. You come to work early, you stay late, you strive for excellence, you do the best you can do. You leave it all on the mat here. You go for it. This next year at this time, I'm going to be pulling in here with an even nicer car."
Oh God, God, please help me. Where's that ego at? Apparently,
Exactly.
he didn't leave it in the car.
That is not what we're about, and it's
Right.
not the way it should be, right? I
No, it's
mean,
not.
it should be like there should be a higher purpose.
There
So
is.
so we
Oh
believe that
Lord.
there is a stronger why. However, I mean, if you looked at our the complexity of our or the complexion of our team, what we do, who we work with, it would be very similar to what it was when the ownership was all personal, and now it's
Right.
90% owned by a charity. We still get to control all the decisions. It's just if we would sell, 90% of the proceeds, would go to charity.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
can yeah, we can use the proceed we can use the proceeds for two things. They can either be grow the business, we can go buy more land, more trucks, more equipment, or we can give it to charity. We can't pull it out personally. Obviously, we can
I
get
see.
paid. We get
Right.
paid for what we do. We get paid for our
Right.
salaries.
Right.
And we're fine. We have all the things we need. Like there's
Right.
nobody's Mother Teresa,
Right.
nobody's starving. We have like all the good things in life.
Yeah.
I feel like we still enjoy, and it's just been a really fun journey.
That's amazing. I was going to ask you about something you big already answered. It is kind of where you choose to kind of lead from humility, or faith over control of ego, right? Like, I
Hmm.
mean, that's kind of one thing, right? If you're driven and you want to drive a company, right? Like you have a strong sense of values. You hit home there because we're going to organizations not afraid to talk about our faith, right? We're not convincing everybody or anything like that, but we lead by our actions, right? And sometimes there is negativity to that. And I'm quite curious to see if you experience that. We've had people leave and stout. Oh, well, they talk about God there. Well, like,
Yeah,
okay, if
yeah,
if that's the worst thing you're gonna
yeah,
say, then I guess go for it. But
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
as you learn in your journey, but people get really, they're like, you shouldn't do that. Somebody's gonna sue you. I'm like, if I get sued for talking about God, I
yeah.
I I'll be fine,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced the same at all.
Yeah, we have. I mean, I guys telling me 20 years ago when I prayed at one of our company meetings, he said, "You're going to get sued one of these days." And I was like, "Well, I don't know that. I mean, here's the way I look at it. I'm not forcing anyone
Right,
to believe in any certain thing. I'm sharing from a personal. It's where my heart is, and
right,
it's all about relationship. We're not trying to force, and we love everyone. We have all
right,
types of people that work here, and
right,
certainly a mix of society.
right,
And we do believe that caring for folks holistically, spending time in prayer for them, and not trying to hide who we are because we're afraid of somebody's going to sue us. Um, I think that's coming from a standpoint of fear.
right, right,
At the same time, we want to be completely, in all humility, uh, completely transparent about the fact that we have not figured it out. We're not perfect.
right.
We don't, we haven't, figured out all the answers. We're just trying to learn. I'm hoping to
Right.
get better when I grow up. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, there's only one person that was perfect that walked in
yeah,
this land, and it
that's
wasn't
right.
either of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned ego. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Patrick Lencioni's
Yes. Good
The
man.
Ideal Team Player, Hungry, Humble, Smart.
Mm,
And
yeah.
he actually talks at the end of that book, he talks about out of the greatest of these, hungry, humble, smart is humility.
Yeah.
And the greatest example of humility was Jesus Christ, who had the power to call down angels and take him off the cross, but took made the ultimate sacrifice. The other book that I really like is Ego is the Enemy, and that's I think is so true and is very. You talked earlier about young leaders. If I could give young leaders one piece of advice, I would say just, try not to take yourself too seriously. You can take your work seriously. We should all take
Right.
our work seriously
Right.
and, what God's put us on this earth to do. But as soon as we start taking ourselves too seriously, it's really detrimental and
Yeah.
it's just it leads to a bad place.
Oh, I love that. That's great advice, Jeff. And there's one, I don't know if you've heard about it, called The Go Giver. Um,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
is an outstanding book too, right? And it just
Yes.
from what it kind of takes some of the concepts that you were talking about earlier and
Yeah.
basically just notes like, right, like they were in pursuit of the wrong thing and
Yeah.
judged people who really were doing great things, but that you can't judge a book by its cover. Yeah.
Right.
That's
Right.
amazing. Now,
Yeah.
as you kind of, what's the long-term journey for both of the organizations? Like what's kind of the next step?
Yeah. Well, so let me talk about Keystone first. So we are trying to do as much as we can to prepare for the future. The building business, there's a lot of cycles up and
Right.
down.
Right.
So we're trying to prepare for the future, really look at what does that look like down the road. Land is a big challenge, securing the right land. We belong to a benchmark group of 10 other builders around the country
Okay.
that we're always looking to learn, figure out best
Mm.
practices, figure out how do we both expect the best but be prepared for the worst
Mm.
as we look to the future. I would say taking care of our team. So building a dream team,
Mm.
just really the best possible, well-balanced, strong, humble, hungry, humble, smart leaders for the
Yeah.
future. So a dream team that builds dream homes. We believe taking care of our customers is a long-term recipe for success, and nobody's
Yes.
perfect. We all
Right.
make mistakes, and it's hard
Yep.
to take those 12,000 parts that go into a home and get dropped on the driveway and put them together perfectly every time. So
Right.
there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but we try to do the best we can to build those dream homes and then invest in dreams of families like I talked about, Anastasia and
Yeah, I love it.
Natasha and the women in Rwanda. So dream team, building dream homes, and then investing in dreams. On the Hope International side, we think there's so much more that needs to be done. I feel like we're just getting started as far as the opportunities that are out there to really multiply and leverage the talents and
Yeah.
skills that these families have. We're never going to be able to give our way into helping
Right.
others. I mean, there's not enough resources in the world to
Right.
just go subsidize everyone. But if you can unlock the talents and gifts and abilities that they have, you know, Brian Ficker talks in his book When Helping Hurts about the
Mm.
kindest way to hurt someone is to do for them the thing that they could do by themselves.
Right.
And I think if you can coach and come alongside, it's messier, but it's so much better. So that's a
Yeah.
vision I think the team at Hope is really focused on. Is really let's let's unlock the amazing talents and abilities and skills and gifts that God has given the families we serve, and just see what happens next.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's interesting. It goes along with I was speaking to a nonprofit, large nonprofit that does housing, right? And I said, she said to me, "Listen, we love donations, but the real reality is we love to solve the root of our problem,
Yeah,
and money doesn't solve that root."
that's right.
Right?
That's
It
right.
helps, it keeps us
Mhm.
afloat, but
Yeah.
we're looking for people to help, right? We say time, talent, and treasure. And I guess,
Yes.
each segment of our life, when we're our kids, we might be giving money or we're giving time, but we're our
Yep.
treasures. And she's like, the real thing is a treasure of helping solving the root. And it sounds like, I mean, that's exactly what hope is doing, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
solving a
Yep.
root problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, that's amazing. Hey, you talk about like hardship, right? Like what's a leadership lesson that you learned when you were being kind of in the servant way? Like maybe one that hurt ultimately shaped you who you were.
Sorry, not sure. Just got an emergency
Oh,
notification.
we all did.
Okay. I don't know
Oh,
what that was.
911 outage.
Okay. Okay.
911
Well,
center is down.
okay. Well, I'll let you edit that out. I was trying to turn my phone down and it wouldn't go
Oh, no
down.
worries. Oh, both of them went off at different times. My watch was going off. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say there's a lot of a leadership lesson that I've learned is just to be really focused when you're going through valleys, when you're really, when you feel like you're in the middle of failure, to be looking for the things that you can learn. Never waste a crisis. When I think about some of the low points in my life, whether it was on the farm, when we would have a drought, or we would have, a calf would die, or there would be, milk production was down because we had, a heat wave, or it was too cold, it was 20 below zero and the wind was
Right.
blowing. when you think about the things that we've learned are so valuable, and sometimes I know it was hard for me to always be looking for, okay, what can I learn through this
Right.
crisis? And I think the same thing, when like I said, when we started Hope International, we were doing that inadvertently toxic charity. I was a toxic charity addict,
Mm.
and my name's Jeff. But when I think about what came out of that, and if it wouldn't have failed, I'd still be doing the same thing. And
Mhm.
so, trying to learn from those, when I think about the cycles of the building business, 2000 from 92 to 2006 was amazing. It was all up and to the right. It was never going
Right.
to stop.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
guess what? 2007, half the builders in the country went out of business.
Right.
50,000 builders went out of business.
Wow.
It dropped from, we were building nationally 2 million homes, dropped to a fourth of that. And,
Wow.
that'll take some people out of business.
Yeah.
And it's just what we learned in those 7 years. I call it the 7 years of famine from '07 to 14.
Yeah.
Uh, we've applied to a lot of the years since, and it's very valuable. So
Right.
on all sides, I can apply that personally, socially, financially, and spiritually. And
Yeah.
it's just, I think that's something that we really want to. And then the flip side is also true. When we're having success, and we should also be looking for what parts of this are what parts of this can we learn from so that we can prepare for the future, not just being everything's fine.
Right.
So I think just always having a curiosity, a sense of what can I learn about success through failure and then failure through success. So really be able to look at the inverse as you're going through it.
Yeah, I love that advice. I mean, that hits home for me personally, right? As you grow and establish an organization, you're constantly worried about those you serve, right? Which are our employees, our clients. And so I constantly have a battle in my head of if this happens as we do X, how's that going to help hurt them, right? And so it's a mental battle all the time that you would understand.
Yeah,
But many don't, right? That have that understanding of you build it from the ground zero and you're trying to serve others, right? and
yeah,
um, and so it's hard to let go of that thought. But at the end of the day, I really realize like letting go is what I'm trying to be taught, right? And
yeah,
like, listen, let
exactly.
it go and trust in me. Okay, all
Yeah,
right, every day,
yeah,
reset, let it go, trust in me. But
yeah,
you feel like you're failing at that every day, which I guess is okay. You're learning, but
yes.
it being in company of others that have the same belief is helpful too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I would say the one other thing that's been helpful for us through the years, both things that we talked about today, the nonprofit and the for-profit, is learning from others, benchmarking, always be,
Mm.
um, you don't know, I've always, and it's not hard for me to not be but I never want to be the smartest guy in the room. I always want to
Right.
be like, how can we ask the right questions and
Right.
really always be learning, but benchmarking from the best people you can find
Right.
in whatever subject you're trying to learn from.
Well, and you mentioned that too, kind of mentors, right? Peer groups. Being humble
Yes.
enough to reach out to others
Oh,
is
yeah.
a real key. That was a
Oh,
lesson that I learned. Like, just just dig through it. You need to solve it on your own. And if I would have learned that even earlier in my career, I'm like, wait, go and meet with the people that have been there and done that. Like, they'll
yeah.
tell you how to get through it. And that's a lesson learned. I think we see a lot. We hear from a lot of leaders that we try to develop, like failure's bad. I'm like, wait, one of our core values is fail fast, win. But
Yeah.
it's like
Hmm.
fail fast. Like you learn so much, but it's a culture of kind of how we educate kids today. I think that's like it's bad to fail, but it's not. From hearing you as well, it's like you learn so much, right?
Yes.
And
Right.
I think that's a failure is good.
Yes.
I mean,
Exactly.
controlled
Yeah.
failure, I guess, right? As we kind of work to wrap up a little bit, those that are listening, maybe that are trying to become a leader, it sounds like you've built a lot of great people, right? What advice would you give to them? I mean, what, that are trying to really understand them. I mean, everybody in their own right is a leader, right? I mean,
Yeah. Hmm.
but those that are striving to lead others and serve them, What advice
Hmm.
would you give them?
Yeah, I would say, combining those two things, so always look at it as servant leadership. I would encourage those who are trying to learn and become a leader, just continue to just be a constant and never-ending improvement as far as being a reader, either through reading or listening to Audible. I usually try to listen to 2 books a month. I mean, some of the foundation of those, the four disciplines of execution, the seven habits of highly effective people.
People, yeah.
One that I've written, listened to recently very holistically is Good Energy.
Mm,
I mentioned ego is the enemy, do hard things.
yeah,
There's so many. I think we have an
I love
Audible
it.
library here at Keystone, and we have I think 412 books
That's
on our
awesome.
Audible list right now. But it's surprising. A lot of folks think I'm out of school, I don't have to read anymore.
Right.
But there's a lot of good material out there, and I believe it keeps us sharp as we continue to learn. So, if that's if there's a lot of resources out there, and they're very accessible.
Yeah, that is well said. And we're all in the car for some period of time, so you can listen, right?
Yes,
You know,
exactly,
I have
exactly.
an addiction of buying them in Audible, but then buy them in hardback because I want to actually take some of the content out of it, right? So
Yeah,
I maybe
yeah.
I'm doing the wrong thing there. But yeah,
No, it's
that's it. You're
good.
right. You just learn something new and you learn so much from others. Perfect example is today, right? Just learning.
Yeah.
God puts people in front of you every day. I'm sitting here smiling in the back of my head, going, "All right, I get you." Like having a bad day or having a
Yeah.
problem, and then look what happens, right? So you're an amazing person, and your team is amazing for what they've accomplished. So continue to do God's work. That's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it, Nick. Thank you for hosting, and it's been great spending time with you.
Oh, absolutely. We'll wrap it up for today. So, that's a wrap. My friends, this is how you build more than houses. You build hope, from what you heard from Jeff. And from pouring concrete in Pennsylvania to planting seeds and transformation across 24 country, Jeff has shown us that servant leadership isn't just a philosophy, it's a blueprint. Wherever he's handing someone the keys to their dream home or empowering them to unlock their own potential with a loan, Jeff leads with heart, hustle, and a hammer in one hand and a Bible in the other. Jeff, thank you for reminding us that true impact isn't measured in square foot, but is in changed lives. To all of our listeners out there, go build something. It might not be 9,000 homes, but maybe it's 9,000 moments of compassion, integrity, or courage. Start where you are, lead like a and serve and mean it. So this is Nicholas Bluco signing off for Servant Leaders Library. Stay humble, stay hungry, and hey, maybe hand out a few loans of grace this week. Until next time.